On Saturday, Notre Dame beat Clemson 47-40 in double overtime. So Notre Dame is now 7-0. Clemson is now 7-1. And I was really, really impressed with Notre Dame. And this feels like a signature win for Notre Dame's head coach, Brian Kelly. I feel like Brian Kelly does not get enough respect that he deserves. I mean, he's won a ton at Notre Dame. He's been there, I think, over 10 years. I think he's been there like 11 years at Notre Dame. He recruits very, very well. His teams are always well coached. And it's funny, if you compare Brian Kelly right now at Notre Dame, compare them today, Brian Kelly against Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, and you go, oh my gosh, Brian Kelly has been massively successful at Notre Dame. Meanwhile, this feels like it might be the last year at Michigan for Jim Harbaugh. You go, like, Jim Harbaugh might be out of a job like in January. Oh my gosh, it's kind of weird and surprising. Brian Kelly does not get the credit he deserves for what he's done at Notre Dame. It's a hard program to win with. There's a lot of pressure in that, that if you're coaching for Notre Dame, they've got a gigantic fan base. There's a lot of eyeballs on that program. People there are very, very quick to say, you're not very good, get out. And I think Brian Kelly, man, deserves a lot of credit and respect for what he's done at Notre Dame. I also got to say, I've got a lot of respect for the Notre Dame quarterback, Ian Book. I really was impressed with the way he played against Clemson. This victory over Clemson is probably the best I've ever seen Ian Book play in college football. And look, I've never been I always look at college football from an NFL perspective. I really kind of get, once I realize a guy is probably not a great NFL quarterback, I go, I don't really care. Because the question I care about is, does your game translate to the NFL? And when I see a guy's game doesn't really translate to the NFL, I'll be honest, I just kind of stopped paying attention. Because being a great college quarterback to me is not as interesting as being a great NFL quarterback. And I've never been very, very excited about Ian Book as an NFL prospect. And so for that reason, I've never really given him his shine. I've always said he's average. I've just never given him the respect he deserves. And so I think I want to say this, as a college quarterback, he's a coach's dream. He works hard. He's disciplined. And here's what I really want to give a lot of credit to Ian Book for. Unfortunately, I think it's going to sound a lot like I'm taking a shot at him. That's not my intention here. Ian Book did something I was never able to do as a quarterback. And Ian Book has done something as a quarterback that I think really most quarterbacks, like 99% of quarterbacks, never ever do in their career, is that I think he's maxed out. I think Ian Book has really gotten every single ounce of good football he possibly can get out of him. He really, I think, hit his ceiling. And it's going to sound like, hey, you're criticizing him. Because again, I don't think he's an NFL quarterback in any degree. He's certainly not a franchise quarterback. If you look at Ian Book from an NFL perspective, he's probably Case Keenum at best, right? But it feels like, again, the way that Ian Book extends plays, he's making good decisions. He's playing very, very clean. He's had a dime on a back shoulder ball down the left sideline against Clemson. Ian Book has done something that most quarterbacks in their lifetime never get to do, which is to play until they're really probably not going to get any better at all. I mean, I think that he has maxed out and gotten the most potential he possibly can out of him. And I'm not trying to attack the guy. I think it's actually admirable. And I guess I didn't think about this too much before I said it. And I hope it doesn't sound like I'm being critical of the guy. He's not really an NFL quarterback in my opinion. But oh my gosh, he's dominated in college football. He's really maxed out everything he could possibly do. And I hope, look, how cool would it be if I'm totally wrong and Ian Book goes to the NFL, he's the next Tom Brady, and people clip out this little segment and go, see, Zach, he became the guy. I'm okay with that. But to be a 3-year starter at Notre Dame and to have never lost a home start, I think that Ian Book, because he's not an NFL quarterback, people like me and a lot of people out there are just never been like, we've never embraced Ian Book and given him the round of applause he deserves. Ian Book's had an incredible college career. He's a really, really phenomenal college quarterback. And I think he's gotten everything he possibly could out of his college football career. And I just think that's admirable. I certainly didn't. And a lot of quarterbacks, even guys that play in the NFL often, they never reach their potential. Ian Book has done that, and I think that deserves a really lot of respect and to some degree a round of applause from me and from a lot of the world to say, Ian Book, you did it, man. You worked incredibly hard. you made yourself into a really good quarterback. You started 3 years at Notre Dame, and you never lost a home start. That's just unbelievable to me. And so I think Notre Dame, this team this year in 2020, has a shot to get to the college football playoff. How cool will that be if Notre Dame can do that with Ian Book? And I got to say, like, well done, man. You've done very well. And Ian Book deserves a lot of credit. He's probably not going to get a lot of it because he's probably not a franchise quarterback in the NFL. That's unfortunate. He's done a great job in college. So, number 1 Clemson got beat by number 4 Notre Dame. And kind of the story of this game was that Clemson was missing their star quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. But it's interesting. I don't think Clemson really suffered much drop-off because they went to freshman quarterback DJ Uiagalelei. And oh my gosh, I am so excited about this kid. Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney gave a quote where he basically said that DJ Uiagalelei would start on most other D1 college football programs. He is not wrong. Like, oh my goodness. And again, if you haven't heard the name, here's how you say it. It's DJ Uiagalelei. He's really impressed me in his 2 starts this year at Clemson. He started against Boston College, had a cool comeback victory over BC. And then in his second start ever, he's on the road at Notre Dame. He's down by 13 points in the second half, and he brought his team back and gave them the lead against Notre Dame on the road in the fourth quarter. Oh my goodness. I hate to, like, I'm so pumped up, and I'm really sad that Clemson didn't win the game, but forget the win. DJ Uiagalelei is so exciting and so cool, and it's crazy that they're going to transition from Trevor Lawrence when he leaves to the NFL, I believe after this year. They're going to transition from that guy to DJ Uiagalelei. Oh my, it's terrifying. And when I watch DJ, all I can see is he's going to become a more polished version of Josh Allen, the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. He's already a star. He's a huge kid. He's got a great arm. He sees the field very, very well. I just am excited for the future of DJ Uiagalelei. And he's just a guy. I like his dad. I think that, Big Dave is really, really cool. It's exciting. If you've never heard of that guy, look up Big Dave, DJ Uiagalelei's dad. It's so, it's just interesting and funny and cool. And I don't know, man. I loved what I got to see from him. Now, in the end, it felt like experience won out. Unfortunately, Clemson did lose the game. Unfortunately for Clemson, if you're a Notre Dame fan, you're like, yeah, you're so excited. I'm not trying to pick a side here. But Notre Dame scored second. I guess they scored first in double overtime. So Clemson got the ball, and during Clemson's possession, DJ took back-to-back sacks. Clemson found themselves in a unwinnable 4th and 24 situation. And in the end, it was a good win for Notre Dame. Credit to Brian Kelly, credit to Ian Book. Now, I really hope we get to see a rematch between Notre Dame and Clemson in the ACC Conference Championship. And I want to see Notre Dame play Clemson again. I think we will see that, and I'm very, very excited for what is to come later down the road in the ACC between Notre Dame and Clemson.